Buck Brannaman, Mary Brannaman, Deanna Brannaman, and who's that? Betty Staley, Tina Cornish, and our amazing producer, Julie Goldman.
Thank you! Thank you! So great.
Come out of the dark.
I'm crying again. Oh. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bud. Happy birthday to you.
Takes a lot to embarrass him, but I think we got him. We do thank y'all for coming to our last screening here at Sundance. It's been just an amazing week. Any questions? Questions?
The film is just wonderful, and thank you so much for making it and bringing it to us. And when's your next clinic in Salt Lake?
I've been getting that question quite a bit lately, as you might imagine. I am going to try, I promise, in the next couple of years to get in this area to do one, because they've been sort of waiting for a long time for me to come here. And I have to tell you what sort of tipped me over the edge is we went out to the handicap riding facility here outside of town, so I want to come back and try to help them. So I'll come back and do a clinic. So.
This might be a hard question to answer, but I'm curious, as you reflect about the people you work with, what are some of the most prevalent difficulties that you see when people are having trouble with their horses? You talk about it reflects something in their lives. What are the themes that you see a lot?
Well, so much of the time, people don't understand how really sensitive a horse is, and gosh knows we all have baggage. There's no doubt about that. And if a person is, a lot of times fear is a huge thing. That'll motivate them to come because they're just terrified. And understand there's a big difference between fear and caution. An experienced person might have caution for a dangerous situation, but with fear comes despair because you don't know what to do about it. You just feel like a victim. So there's a lot of people will come because they're afraid. And a lot of people find out that the horse will help them to learn some things about themselves. And occasionally, I may meet a person in a clinic and say, does your husband and kids push you around as much as that horse does? And they'll look at me like I'm a prophet, and it's like, no, I'm just observant. And sometimes you'll get to know them, and they'll say, dang, that's really wild you knew that about me, because it seems like I do everything for everybody, and I'm always taking the back seat. And once in a while, you'd be surprised, once that person maybe learns how to sort of take control of their situation with their relationship with their horse, once in a while they'll go home from a clinic and kind of clean house too and set up a new set of rules. So it's amazing how the horse can help to connect me with people and learn things about them. And I'd never use that in a way that would be destructive. It just helps me to get to know them so I know how to approach them, because sometimes I can just talk to a person in a normal voice, but they may be so fragile and so tender that to them you're yelling at them. And then you might get someone else that they've got hide about that thick, and you can't hardly get through to them. And you have to learn how to adjust to try to fit every person. And gosh knows I've made a lot of mistakes over the years and thought, gee, I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I'd said it differently. But that's a learning process for me too. And I'm like anybody else. I'm just trying to do the best I can. Well, the sort of the description of my foster parents' place was that they had a very small ranch, and believe me, they weren't prosperous. As a matter of fact, when we moved there, that's why I started riding horses for other people and shoeing horses, is because I still had to buy my own food and clothes. They couldn't afford to have us boys, but they loved us, and they gave us a roof over our head. And over the years, all the other boys sort of came through, and it wasn't always a formal foster care type situation. The Shirley Ranch was just where people would take kids and dump them off when they didn't want them, and they did the most important part, and that is they loved them, but they also gave us something to do. You know, we worked, we learned how to work, but they were always kind to us. But we learned the tools that we needed to eventually get out on our own and survive. And you know, they lived a life of poverty, just having all those kids. But I don't know if you believe in angels, but I know of one so far.
Little dramatic.
How long have you been riding horses?
How old are you? You're 8. Well, I started riding horses when I was about 2 years old. And I started spinning ropes and doing rope tricks when I was 3 and a half. And it still sounds wild to me that you could do that, but I was turned professional when I was 6, and I just kind of started off early. But the hard thing about that is that's not all good, because when I was 5, 6 years old, we had the choice of practicing rope tricks or getting whipped, and of course, on balance, practicing rope tricks looked quite a lot better to us. So we got good, but we were slaves, and it was just not the way to handle kids. I eventually had a second career as a trick roper as I got older and could make my own choices. And the second time around, right out of high school, when I started performing, I got around quite a bit and put on a lot of shows, but I often tell people that's my first career that I starved to death at. So I'll let you pick.
What made you decide to have the film made?
I did ride horses on the East Coast. I was riding an English rider, and I had gone to one of Buck's clinics. A person had highly recommended him, and I did have a troubled horse. Not as troubled as some of the ones you saw, but troubled. And I went, and I was just blown away at not only how he was able to encourage the people in their riding and that had fear, and I do have fear sometimes with these types of horses, but he really was able to help the horses, but more importantly help the people, and it was very inspiring. So about 5 years after that, I went to another clinic and was once again just mesmerized and thinking, why doesn't everyone else teach like this? Because I had taken a lot of horse lessons and stuff. So I just thought it was a story that really needed to be told, and his story especially, because it resonated on so many levels. And I just asked him if I could do it, and he said, yeah. And the rest is history. Yes.
I've heard of the amazing response of the students in Ogden, and I've heard even before the movie. I was wondering if you plan any other showings for students in other high schools, because apparently it really made such a difference in some young people's lives, and there probably were some cases where these students might have been abused or had really difficult home situations. So I just think it would be such a great idea if this movie could be shown in high schools throughout the country, and I wondered if you had any plans for that.
Thank you. I'm going to let my producer, Julie Goldman, take that question.
Well, we're really fortunate and thrilled